Hello and welcome. I'm so delighted to offer my audience part 2 of this incredible interview with Dr. Andrea Ferber. Thank you for coming back, Andrea. We had an amazing discussion a couple of weeks ago where I was guided to present these 5 principles related to alternative economics and sort of like a new paradigm way of looking at and considering the aspects of currency and how and why we exchange energy on an economic basis. And I did a presentation in one of my earlier soul samplers where I brought forward these 5 points, which are spirituality, creativity, generosity, reciprocity, and security. And during the last interview, which I have a link below to, Andrea and I discussed 4 of those 5 principles. And we had an amazing chat about those things. And Andrea brought her background, which I'll let her describe here in a moment, to this powerful sharing and discussion where she actually approached me after she saw my original soul sampler presentation as a PhD in the history of economic theory. And she said, I really would love to go deeper into describing those 5 points from an economic perspective. So welcome back, Andrea. We're going to look today at the 5th point that we didn't cover last time, which is generosity. Would you please start by just sharing a little bit about your background?
Oh, yes. Thank you for inviting me to this discussion again. Well, my background is, as you said, I studied economy, macroeconomy, and I made my PhD in history of economic theories. Especially my subject was neoliberal theories about unemployment and employment. And after this, we had this reunification. I was born in East Germany, so I was 29 years old when the Iron Curtain came down. So I started over in a totally new economic system. And that was a very successful thing. And right now I'm a coach, trainer, and counselor for enterprises, but also for everyone who wants to meet his or its or her potential. Yes. And so this is what I'm doing, how to be successful economically and how to meet your potential. And of course, I watch what is going on in this world, and I think we are on a very, very critical and crucial point in our history. And it depends on us what the outcome will be. And these 5 principles, when I heard them from you the first time, I said, wow, that is right what I think. That makes so much sense. And when the spiritual world brought up these principles to you, I said, that is really something very important, and that brings hope into the world, because it's really very, very easy to change the situation. Very easy. And we can be very hopeful because it just depends on us. The crises are always crisis in the way we think and act. So it's a conscious thing. So when we change our conscious, our knowledge, our way to act, then the problem is over.
Totally. And I thought that it was so interesting that we kind of left generosity to the last, and we ended up, both of us, just sort of forgetting about it, which it feels like it almost requires a category of its own, because to me, it is the thing that shows us, are we coming from love or are we coming from fear? You know, it's that age-old concept of you can't approach life from love and fear at the same time. You're choosing one or the other. And as soon as you're in a state of love, automatically there's this generosity that springs from you. Like, you know that you want to share something, you want to give something to the world. So please, Andrea, you've told me that you've compiled some notes about this. I'm really excited to hear where you're going to go with this beautiful topic.
I would really start with a story I had with my grandmother and great-grandmother when I was a little girl. My great-grandmother passed away when she was 94. I was 16 years old, so I got to know her very well. And she was a very interesting lady. And one day I was a little girl, I came from school and I was very disappointed and very sad about my best friend, because it turns out that she will never give back, though I did so many good things to her, but she didn't give back. And I was disappointed and sad. And I went to my grandmother, who lived right next to my parents. And it happened that my great-grandmother was also there. So I told both this story, how disappointed I am, how sad I am that my friend would never give back. And my grandmother told me then, as a reaction, well, Andrea, you should learn to take care. Well, there's a German saying, not to cast pearls before swine.
Yes.
So take care about your pearls, what you do with them. And my great-grandmother interrupted immediately. She said, that is nonsense, Andrea, that is nonsense. You don't have to care about your pearls and that you don't cast them before swine. You have to care in your life that you have tremendous much pearls, that you don't have to care whether you cast someone before swine or not. Just focus on having a lot of pearls. And that is generosity.
Yeah.
That is a production, being able to produce abundance.
Yes. And totally. And it's really based on the perception of lack or the perception of abundance.
Yeah. So don't get focused of losing something. Get focused on producing a lot of whatever you want. And the very nature of life is, and this universe is, abundance. I mean, God produced from.
Oh, you just went quiet there for a minute, Andrea. I just lost your mic. Can you hear? Okay, I'm going to pause the recording. Come right back. Okay, we're back. Okay. Carry on where you left off, Andrea.
I think I left off saying that the very nature of God and this universe is abundance. We have everything what we need, more than we can use.
Yes, we do.
Yes. So, and we have to learn to step into this spirit of producing abundance. And that is generosity. I mean, I looked to Wikipedia, how they define this word.
Okay.
And they said, willingness to give or to share. Yes, and I would add ability to give and to share. You started with either we live the spirit of love or we live the spirit of fear. And the point is, when you look into the internet, when you look what books are written about love, so you have a lot of offers to teach you how to make everyone loving you. So you to get everything you need. But where is the course? Where's the training offer? How that teaches you how to love?
Correct. Absolutely correct. You know, and I think your story is very powerful, Andrea, because we often get locked into this especially with currency, with production, with, abundance, even with our friends and our time and our energy and our love, we can get locked into this feeling of, well, we're giving something to get something back. And if we don't get the result that we're hoping for, if we don't get the return on our investment out there of our energy, our time, and our focus, and so on, then, we start to retract and pull back in and say, well, I just wasted, like you said, your story, I just wasted my energy, my time. And so for me, that's one of the first aspects of generosity, is that it is what you are giving. If you're giving it and it's something that you want to give, you love to give it, you have a desire to give it, it's either something that you're producing that you're proud of, that you feel good about, or it's your love that just feels good to share it, whatever it is, your time, your energy, your presence. If you're doing that and it's enjoyable for you and you feel good about the fact that you're doing it, it's not about being attached to what you're going to get back, because it's this assumption that what goes around comes around eventually. You might not get it back directly from the person or the place that you're putting it.
Yeah, yes.
I'd like you to go further into this as an economist and tell me what that,
Yes and no. The point is, when everyone in the world, every adult, we talk about adults, healthy adults, when every adult is focusing on sharing and producing, then the getting comes automatically. When everyone gives, when everyone shares, so we all can also take. But when everyone is just, or the majority is just focused on getting, then we have a problem.
This is very, very true.
The point is, I don't know, there is this saying that God created man in his own image. And God is a creator. So he created us as creators, as people who are able to live a life of creating. So creating is our very nature, not making a good bargain of giving less and getting more. That is not our very nature. That is the nature of a personality, of a person who is not in touch with his ability to create. And that's why he is also not generous.
Interesting.
Because he thinks, when I give, then I'm poor, then I'm empty.
Yes.
But that is, so, well, I make this coaching, and that is one part of my coaching, to give my clients a feeling that they are creators, that they shall focus themselves of creating themselves as a person that can produce, and to give them a feeling of earning money is an unlimited thing. You can create as much as you want. That's why you can earn money as much as you want. What the economy wants us, the economic laws and principle wants us to give before we take. Because otherwise we produce crisis. Look,
can you say that? I want you to say that again, Andrea. That's so powerful. Say that again.
Yeah.
So
the economic law, the nature of economy,
natural law,
the natural law, the nature of economy wants us to produce, to give, to share before we take. And of course, we are responsible. We should also think in general logics. That means when I give, I shall also demand something back, because I'm responsible that everyone pops into this logic. Generosity doesn't mean I'm ready to get exploited, to get abused. No. there is an old German philosopher, Immanuel Kant, from the 18th century, and he wrote a principle that is really, really the very, very best I ever read. He wrote, "Act that your principle of action might safely be made a law for the whole world."
So it's like you're setting the tone, you're leading, you're setting the example.
What you do should work, should function when everyone also does it.
Yes.
So when everyone is a producer, is a giver, is focused on sharing, so that is a principle that works for the entire world. But when we are selfish and just think of getting without working, I mean, the internet is full of tutorials and lessons and offers. I teach you how to make $50,000 a month with just 2 hours a week. So this is a spirit of, how can I live a life, a rich life, and simultaneously prevent working for others?
Yes. Well, and right away, we're going to look at that is immediately creating a metaphysical imbalance.
Yeah,
because
reciprocity, that is not reciprocity.
Yeah, that's not reciprocity. If you're taking all of this from the collective and you're giving as little as possible back, right away, you've created a deficit.
Yeah. You create a deficit. You create a huge deficit. I mean, just the practical thing. I mean, I'm 62 years old, and my entire life, I read in the papers and newspapers, I have always the news that on this world, every day, thousands of kids pass away because they don't have enough to eat, and they don't have enough good water. How can that be in a world that has such highly developed technologies and abilities to produce an affluence? That is just because of being selfish.
It is.
Not to care.
Now,
because
go ahead.
Because there are people, the super riches, they think when they are not able to take more and more, this greedy thing, then they can't live. They live in the spirit of fear.
Yes, and
they are poor people. Actually, they are very poor people.
Yeah, exactly.
Richness means I'm inside rich.
Yes.
Rich on knowledge, abilities, self-conscious, insights, ability to produce, to create, to share, to learn, to exchange, to just be a part of a society that makes a society better than without me.
Yes, totally. You know, this actually takes me into something that I've experienced with my clients over the years. Mm-hmm. And that is that people will often come to me and say, you know, that they feel under attack. So there's two things. On the one hand, people will come and say they feel taken advantage of. And on the other hand, they'll say they come and feel under attack. So starting with the under attack feeling, what I explain to them is it's a metaphysical principle. When you are looking in like this, when you're going, you know, something's coming in to me and I'm vulnerable and I feel afraid, then you are kind of like turning inward and it creates an opening for something to come in and try to take from you. So my antidote for that has always been, for decades, the generosity, the practice of generosity, because as soon as you extend out, so whatever it is you're afraid of, you're sending love to it. Whatever it is that you are, you know, you feel under attack, look for a way. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to directly confront the thing that you're feeling under attack about. You can look for other ways of opening your heart and beginning to Be generous with your energy. And that right away will clear the whole field. It will clear the field, because when your energy is going out from the heart, the energy that is more attacking or trying to like draw your energy out of you can't get in, because you are extending. So it's almost like if we come at life from that place, we are automatically sort of buffered from the dark force energy, because we're always extending out into the world. And you know what I mean? Like, have you?
Yeah, I understand. I think I can understand you. This dark side energy, what is this dark side energy? It's nothing more than there are people who are in fear, because this attack is nothing else than getting your energy, because I lack energy. So these are people who don't live their potential. They have this emptiness. And that's why they think their entire life depends, or their surviving depends on using other people's energy.
Exactly.
And so we shouldn't be afraid of those dark side energies. They are poor people. It doesn't mean either that we allow them to make us being victims of them. No. But we can offer them something. We can offer them to teach them, to show them how to change, how to get an idea about their power, about their strengths, about their abilities. And if they don't want to learn this because they are on the way of abusing others' energies, well, then let them go, but don't care about them. Just say, stop. You can either learn how to get inner richness, or I don't want to talk to you, and just go your way. We are much too much focused on the dark people. And that's why we send energy to them. You know, this is also when you see all these people who tell us the future, tell us about the future, or people who want to know, well, what will be the future? Well, regarding to economy is not a weather thing that simply happens. So when the question is, what will be the economy next year or in 10 years? Well, that depends on what do you want that economy
and what do
is.
you do, and how
and
do
what,
you live?
yes, and yeah, yes. What do you want, and what can we do? What do you have to learn? What do you have to do? That is just up to us. This entire crisis here is not a natural phenomenon. We made it. We made it. That is the good side of the message. We produced this crisis.
And if we made it, we can unmake it.
Yeah, we can check. And these 5 principles are the way. This is so easy, so simple. Just stop dreaming of getting more than you give.
Yes. Yes. Stop dreaming of getting rich and be rich, because we already are. We're rich.
My great-grandmother, she also told me, Andrea, you can be as rich as you want, but the line is the following. First, you learn something, then you know something, then you can something, then you do something, and then you have something. That is a process. And so many people dream of skipping all the points and just starting with having something.
Getting something.
Yeah, we want to have something without learning something, without being something, without knowing something, doing something. We just want to have. We dream of being consumers. No, we should dream of being producers.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, that dream is so empty. When people do get into that place where they are whatever, they have the wealth that they can just consume, boy, they're so unhappy. They're so bored, right? It's like, so it doesn't actually, they're looking for something to fill that empty void, which is lack, the lack of connection, as you say, the lack of meaning, the lack of, understanding that you have these gifts. This is another thing. Often people will say to me, well, whatever, I'm retired, I don't have the ability to produce these things that have value, I don't know, I don't have anything to offer. And this is
they could at least offer wisdom.
This is the turning point for people, is when you can say, that's your first gift. Your first gift of generosity is to yourself, to discover yourself. That's the first gift. You're going to be generous to yourself. You're going to say, there are people who are so limited physically, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and they still are generous. So every one of us alive has something to give, and in terms of this idea, because I said also that people say, well, they feel that they're being taken advantage, and or that, they're supporting all these people who don't want to work and are whatever, or aren't able to work, and they feel taken advantage of by that. And what I like to say is, if you feel that you're putting all your energy towards something that's just draining and you're not getting much reciprocity or feedback, then look at ways to adjust your energy so you are connecting more with like-minded people, with people who appreciate what it is that you share. This taken advantage of feeling, to me, is part of the victim consciousness, which is, again, they've got to start with being generous with themselves and discovering, what are my strengths and what are my values, and where could I meet people who are like-minded, who would appreciate what I offer. I have friends and clients that say, well, I try to give to my family, or I try to give my friends, and they don't care, or they just take and they don't give anything back. And I'm kind of saying, well, maybe start by giving yourself permission to explore who you are and create new circles around you, so that you're going to get that reflection. So we're going to get that economic flow of energy back and forth, right?
Yeah, economy is a servant to us. And what is it, what gets served? There's a story, a fairy tale I've got from a former Jewish colleague. And he told me that really nice story, that there's an old Jewish man and he is about to die, and he is very afraid, and he calls for the rabbi. And the rabbi comes and said, well, Moshe, what's up? And Moshe said, well, Rabbi, I'm going to die and I'm so afraid. And the rabbi asked, so what are you afraid of? And Moshe said, well, when I pass into the spiritual world, I have to stand in front of God. And he will ask me, Moshe, did you live your life after the rules of Moses? And I didn't. So I'm afraid of the punishment. And the rabbi said, well, you are mistaken, Moshe. Well, you are right. You will stay in front of God and he will ask you a question, but he will ask you a different question, a very different question. And Moshe asked, so what is the question? And the rabbi said, God will ask you, Moshe, did you use your life to become that Moshe that only you could become? That is it, what our life is about. And for this, we need material goods. We need a house, we need food, we need a lot of material things. So the economy is about to provide us with every material things. Mm-hmm. By the way, material comes from the Latin word mater, the mother. Mm-hmm. So we get feeded that we can grow. But the point is not that we become consumers, but that we become that person that only we can become. And there is a plan behind us. God has a plan, he has an idea. He doesn't produce copies. So I looked into the dictionary what generosity means in Latin. And that means liberalitas. And that comes from libera. And that means free. Generosity sets us free. And freedom is nothing else than we are like the person we really are.
Mm-hmm.
But for this, we have to become a producer, a giver. That means because we grow by our ability to create, to produce, to contribute to the society.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, when we're in this realm talking about what happens when each of us come from that place of generosity. I mean, here's another biblical story of the loaves and the fishes. And, you know, I've witnessed this in my own life. I've witnessed where, you know, people getting together with a common goal on a project or a common ideology. And when everyone is really showing up with their true, authentic self and giving fully, not martyring themselves, not burning themselves out, not treating themselves poorly because they just feel they have to sacrifice themselves in order to make the world better. No, caring for themselves first, but giving freely without worrying about what's coming back. Well, amazing miracles happen. Really big things get done. Really big things can get done.
And that is also because of the interaction. When everyone gives, so we interact and we create together something we could never create alone. So we need the others to grow to a maximum. Because of course there is a dynamic. I know this when I make seminars and we are 6 or 10 persons. Everyone learns much more than when I would teach him just alone.
Exactly. And
this interaction, this giving, this being, this, and by the way, that is also just a wonderful energy in these seminars. Everyone just shows who we really are, who really is. So we really meet each other. We don't pretend something, but we are who we are. And we are frank, we are honest, we share, we just be, we just give. And that is what we all benefit from. So when we all give, when we all share, when we all be ourselves, then we all get. We benefit much more than we just live a life of, oh, I have to care that I don't cast my few pearls. I could lose them. No. Just produce pearls and change them around. And when everyone makes it, so that is the point. What works for the entire society and what works not? The problem is that for the last 5 or 10,000 years, I don't know, we had always in the society a part, we had people who took and became rich and didn't give back. And there was a part who produced, gave, got exploited and stood poor. Yes. And that was never a healthy situation. That always produced crisis. And that is the very, very reason of the situation right now.
What you're describing, Andrea, is the slave system. Like
the slave system.
It was a slave system. You had the masters that took the energy, that exploited the resources and the labor, and they didn't give anything back. And that created that slave structure. And then what do the slaves do? They want to emulate the life of the master. So they want, the American dream. They want to be able to have it all and do nothing. That's not actually the authentic human
That doesn't,
experience. It's
this
not
way,
the authentic.
this way, economy doesn't work. And I have another quote I would really love to share, also by this German philosopher. He said, men will not understand that when they fulfill their duties to men, they fulfill thereby God's commandments. That is what God wants us to do, to be there for others, everyone, not just a minority or a part, but everyone. I mean, we help each other to grow, because that is really a challenge. You know, I mean, when we start our life, we are babies. We just can consume. We are so dependent on getting. But that is not a natural situation. That is just a start. And we get provided with everything we need by our parents, by our family, by society. But the goal is to become that human being who doesn't depend on getting, but is able to give. And that is a learning process. And we need others' help to get on this line, to become such a person, to interact.
It's very true, you know, and in the ancient, what we call the intact cultures, which were the indigenous cultures, which even in Europe, our ancient ancestors were part of those cultures. That's why that's why it was so significant that they had rites of passage for young boys and girls as they were coming of age and turning into adults, because it was actually showing them that that was the turning point where now they were going to become contributing members of the culture, of the society. And it was an honor, it was a privilege for them, and they would be respected and recognized for their individual strengths, but they would also be shown very clearly that there was an expectation that they were going to be engaging in this cultural, societal experience economically, energetically, and that was what made the whole thing go round. And they were the metaphysical understanding was so clear, and they were trained. Well, we were not. We were trained to look at the master and say, well, it sucks being the slave, so I guess I want to be the master because there's no other option. That's where we're needing to shift now. We need to look at ourselves as a healthy collective society where we train our adolescents and our youth to recognize their role in sustaining this beautiful planet and our human experience.
Yeah, and the old people are also in the duty of contributing. This is the point, this is the value of wisdom. I miss that people, also old people, have the goal to become wise. Mm-hmm. And I heard the other day a man, a scientist, talking about that when, for instance, a group of whales are in danger, then the oldest whale guides this group because he knows the most. And that is the best guarantee that the entire group survives. And he had also explained that in these old times, when we had these families over different generations, and there were these old grandmothers, the kids became older at the end of their life than those kids who grew up in a family without grandmothers. We need every generation. We need also, I mean, of course, an old person is not able to produce as much as the young, strong people or men, but there is wisdom, there's experience. Mm-hmm. And by the way, the old people stay healthy and they live also longer. So everyone benefits from the spirit of generosity, of contributing, of growing.
Yes, and I think we can kind of wrap up our conversation by acknowledging that generosity is very linked to societal health and cultural health.
Absolutely.
Like as we become more aware of our ability to operate from this place of generosity, we begin to weave these strong connections with other people who are also aware of that. And that creates a new healthy society, a new culture that is not a slave system anymore. We're basically extracting ourselves from that slave system.
We should defend ourselves from getting exploited by other people. That is also a duty to say, no, here's the border.
Well, and to me, that has a lot to do with choosing, as you said earlier, to stop focusing on the, if you're being taken advantage of, just stop giving your energy to the person. Like, just choose something else. Choose someone else. There's going to be, I guarantee you, if you go out and look in your neighborhood, in your community, there's going to be someone. Maybe it's an old person. Maybe it's someone that's going hungry. There's going to be someone that will really appreciate what you will give.
Or you better meet another giver. What about this?
Or you meet the other givers and you begin to exchange, like, woohoo!
Right? And generosity, that is the last point, should also be becoming a general. To say, I guide my life. I govern my life. So when the government wants my taxes, I want to know what for. I control you. You are not allowed to do whatever you want. So this is this general, this growing, we are citizen. We are not slaves.
This is it.
That is it.
We're not slaves.
We are not slaves.
We're extracting ourselves from a slave.
Not the government has to tell us what we have to do and how much taxes we have to pay. We tell you with how much money you have to live out. You do your work. So just become a general. A society full of generals who just govern their own life is a free society.
It really is. We could go on about this, Andrea, and I feel like we could open up a new chapter for our next interview.
We have no principles. You should ask the spiritual world if there are some more principles, and then we continue.
I will definitely be open to receiving the next layer of insights regarding this. Thank you so much, Andrea. This has been really a pleasure and a delight. Very informative. And for accessing Andrea's beautiful offerings, her coaching and her workshops, you can look at the link below that I've included. Many blessings to all of you. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.